He is an author and visual orator and a visiting faculty to Mumbai University, known for his research and Marathi translation of Shaheed Bhagat Singh's jail diaries. This is now in the, it has gone to 4th edition and it has received very well in the Maharashtrian community. He is an income tax inspector by profession, working for the Government of India and currently posted in investigation wing Mumbai. He is also a visiting faculty to Mumbai University for the course of MA International Relations and Strategies for specialized teaching on Maratha war strategy and tactics. He has recently signed a contract with esteemed Penguin Random House regarding the upcoming historical fiction titled The Man Who Avenged Bhagat Singh, which is about a forgotten revolutionary who avenged the death of Bhagat Singh by killing a traitor who betrayed Bhagat Singh and the Indian Revolution. This book is slated to be published in September 2023. So now I would like to request Abhijeet sir to deliver his talk. We may welcome him with a round of applause. Rajguru and Sukhdev, and we are discussing his legacy and relevance. So I hope by the end of this lecture, the question of relevance will be clear. So the title of today's talk is For the Love of Bhagat Singh. See, since the Britishers occupied our country for 150 years or something, thousands and lakhs of people died for this country. But this man you are seeing here is called as Prince of Martyrs, Shaheed Azam. One should ask and question why? Why him and why not others? Why not Khudiram Bose? Why not Chandrashekhar Azad? Why he? Why he is only called as Prince of Martyrs? I hope to clear that question also. Bhagat Singh is subject of controversy. Bhagat Singh is question of mystery. There is certain enigma. So we will discuss enigma and personality around him, the brotherhood he had acquired, his sacrifice, legacy, and the main point of today's lecture, which is relevance. So my research with Bhagat Singh started in 2013, like 10 years ago, when his grandnephew, Bhagat Singh's grandnephew, Yatin Singh, asked me if I could translate Bhagat Singh's jail diary into Marathi. So what was this jail diary basically? After throwing bomb in Legislative Assembly, Delhi, Bhagat Singh was arrested. Okay, he was arrested in Delhi. A trial was run in Delhi. He was awarded life in prison. But by the time Britishers want to open the Saunders murder case, so he was transported to Lahore. And in Lahore conspiracy case ran, and he was awarded death sentence. So for 2.5 years, this man was in prison, along with Batukeshwar Dutt, and later everybody else joined except Chandrashekhar Azad, who died in Allahabad, outside prison. So the point is, when he was in prison, exactly for 713 days, this man read around 302 books. It's on record. He used to ask books from Dwakadas Library, Lahore. His friend was librarian and the government had given him permission to take books. So by the time he was fighting with government, he was acting on his own defense. He was doing his own defense in the court of law. He was undergoing hunger strike, as you must have seen in the movies. He, by the way, ran for 112 days, which is still a record. In the meantime, his friend Jatin died on 63rd day. And he was writing books and he was writing his jail diary. So when I came to know that this person was writing for the last 2.5 years, this person was writing something in the jail diary, in the prison. What was his intentions? I was interested. I knew about Bhagat Singh. I knew how he killed Saunders, and I knew why he threw bomb in Legislative Assembly. All of you must know about it. But what was the reason? He was writing a jail note. So I took the challenge, I took the diary and I read it. And I found it was not a diary as sort of. What you say diary is you keep a track of your daily routine. That today this thing happened, today this thing happened. And there is not a single word mentioning his daily routine. This book, this jail diary, was his last belonging before he was executed. Alright. And it was given to him as a diary. It was on the first page. So why didn't he write anything which was happening with him? By the way, his colleague Shiv Verma says he wrote 4 books in prison. See, this man is reading almost 1 book every 2 days. He is fasting, he is fighting his defense, he is writing the books, he is reading the books, and he is taking the notes in this jail diary. So this jail diary consists of notes from hundreds of Western authors, from Bertrand Russell to Marx to Rousseau to Thomas Paine, and from Michael O'Dwyer also, who was arch enemy of Bhagat Singh, responsible for Jallianwala, who was later executed by Udham Singh in Britain. So I was puzzled, and it was not like it was not published previously. Upendra Ahuja had published the jail diary in 94 only, in 1994. Professor Chamanlan had published it. Malvinder Singh Orai sir had published it. Multiple authors had published it in English, but they had done the same work. What was written by Bhagat Singh, they had just printed it on the other side. What I did differently was, I went through every book that I could find and tried to find out the context in which Bhagat Singh was writing the paragraph. I will share a few paragraphs with you today. So I was thinking, the question, the enigma in my mind was, why was, if a man he knows that he is going to die, he is not going to come out of that prison, at the end of the day he is going to die, why this man is taking the notes from various Western authors? As I said earlier, Shiv Verma says he has written 4 books in prison: History of Socialism, his own autobiography, History of Indian Revolution, and this book, his diary. But the other works couldn't survive. Surprisingly, the Bhagat, or there is some other story about it. Only 2 of his original works survived. One is his notebook, jail diary, and other one is the famous article Why I Am an Atheist, which was published on his first birth anniversary, 27 September 1930. These both documents were literally smuggled out of prison. I guess that's why they survived. So when I started doing translation and started looking into the context, I understood a very fundamental thing which was overlooked for the last 90 years. The thing is, Bhagat Singh was writing his dream of independent India. He is writing about child labor when he is about to be executed. He is writing about monogamy, the system of the institution of marriage. He is writing about the institution of family. He is writing about retributive punishment when he himself is going to get hanged by the Britishers. He is writing from the book of Michael O'Dwyer, who he dated throughout his life. See this man. He is writing in the notebook what independent India means to him. So that is the code of Bhagat Singh. When I completed the book and when I read it again, I understood. Okay, so in the area of defense, Bhagat Singh thinks like this. In the area of law, he doesn't want retributive punishment in the independent India. He doesn't want child labor in independent India. He wants women to be free. He wants man to be free. He doesn't want any kind kind of imperial or capitalist exploitation in this country. So that is the Bhagat Singh code that was unraveled in his jail diary, which was overlooked for the last 80 or 90 years by all of us Indians. So let us start with the enigma and personality of this man. The enigma is, you must have heard or you must have seen in the movies, that while he was being executed, he was standing on the gallows, it is said that he smiled. Okay, and that smile is an act of enigma and mystery. He has taken something with him, a code, a mystery. That mystery needs to be unraveled. The secret to Indian masses liberation is in that smile of Bhagat Singh when he was dying. So let's start with this. Who was Bhagat Singh? The basic fundamental question, who was Bhagat Singh? In today's context, every party, let's say political party, school of thought is trying to acquire the idols of Indian independence movement. Somebody is trying to acquire Dr. Ambedkar, somebody is trying to acquire Dr. Mahatma Gandhi ji, and of course there are people who are trying to acquire Bhagat Singh. These are the adjectives, epithets called to him while he was being alive. He was called anarchist, he was called socialist, Marxist, communist, he was also called terrorist. In the last few years in the syllabus he was called terrorist. He was called misguided soul. Mahatma Gandhi ji called him misguided soul. The High Court judge called him sincere revolutionary while awarding the sentence of life imprisonment in Delhi Assembly case. He was called as libeller. Libeller in modern parlance is called as anti-national, and many of us still today call him an hot-headed young man. So what was he? What was Bhagat Singh? Who was Bhagat Singh? So this question was answered by him. He says, we humbly claim to be no more than students of history and of our country and our aspirations. This is one of the relevance of history. Despite being learned, despite being truly knowledgeable, so many things, he doesn't claim to be doesn't claim himself to be in any other. He just claims that I am just a serious student of history, aspirations of our country, and every must imbibe this, because there is no other role of student being aware of aspirations of our country and applying technique for it. Next paragraph is more interesting. We despise hypocrisy. Our practical purpose against the institution, since its birth, has eminently helped to display not only its worthlessness but its far-reaching power of mischief. This was written for the British Raj, but it's also really today. If you are under any such institution, see, I believe the people who are under 40 or say have superpower of not tolerating hypocrisy. We can see it clearly. If something hypocrisy or hypocrite is doing is in our front, then we can see it clearly. So this is major focus of Bhagat Singh and his comrade. And I should make it clear before we go into more into the lecture. When I say Bhagat Singh, I am counting all his comrades: Rajguru, Sukhdev, Chandrashekhar Azad, Shiv Verma, and all others. We will take one by one. In modern parlance, it called as anti-national. Bhagat Singh's answer. Bhagat Singh says, if to expose the fraud and imposition of monarchy species government to lessen of taxes, propose plans for the education of helpless infancy and the comfortable support of the aged and distressed, to endeavor to conciliate nations to each other, to extirpate the horrid practice of war. See, he is against the war. In modern parlance, generally public talk about Bhagat Singh as a warmonger. People say if Bhagat Singh would have been alive, the criminals would have been hanged in the chokes. So, understand the perspective of this man. He says to extirpate the horrid practice of war, to promote universal peace, civilization, and to break the chains of superstition. To break the chains of political superstition. this conviction of man. He is replying to all the accusation while he. Let's get into the another story. This is a story which he is written into his notebook on page 54. Okay. So the story, the premise of the story goes like this. There are two characters. This is from the it's written by Jack London. You must have heard or saw named White Fang. It's about the bull, child fiction, children's fiction. It's very good book. This book is also very fantastic. It was one of the favorite novels of Bhagat Singh. So I will tell you the premise. There are two characters in this story. Ernest is a hero. Imagine him in the shoes of Bhagat Singh, a socialist leader. Okay. And the protagonist in the story, the villain, is Mr. Vixen. Okay. And this is the discussion between Vixen and Ernest. So Ernest, the socialist young hot-headed leader, aged 20 to 22, is fighting with Vixen and he is asking for his rights. Ernest is asking for the rights of labor, poor, downtrodden and degraded. And how Mr. Vixen, the villain, is replying. Vixen says, then this is our answer. See, this just for your knowledge to know where the language of Bhagat Singh comes. Bhagat Singh speaks like fire. And his language comes from this kind of stories, this kind of paragraph, this kind of characters that he had imbibed during his struggle in prison time. See how the villain speaks. Vixen says, this is our answer. We have no words to waste on you. When you reach out your wanted strong hands for our palaces and purple ease, we will show you what strength is. In the roar of shell and shrapnel and in the whine of machine guns will our answer be couched. We will grind you revolution down under our heel and we shall walk upon your faces. This world is ours. Who's the capitalist? This world is ours, we are its lords and ours it shall remain. And for the host of labor, it had been in the dirt since the history began. And I read history aright. In the dirt it shall remain so long as I and mine and those that come after us have the power. There is the word. It is the king of words. Power. Not God, not mammon, but power. Pour it over your tongue till it tingles with it. Power. See how the villain or antagonist in the story speaks to socialist leader. Now, the hero is speaking. I am answered, Ernest said quietly. Ernest is the protagonist. It is the only answer that could be given. Power. It is what we of the working teach. We know and well we know by bitter experience that no appeal for the right is for humanity can ever touch you. The hurts are hard as your heels and with which you tread upon the faces of the poor. So we have preached power. By the power of our ballots on election day, we will take your government away from you. What if you the majority, a sweeping majority on election? Mr. Vixen broke in. Suppose we refuse to turn it over to you after you have captured it at ballot. That also we have considered. Ernest replies, and I'll give you an answer in terms of lead. Power, you have proclaimed the king of words. Power it shall be. In the day that we sweep victory at the ballot, you refuse to turn over to us the we have constitutionally and captured, and you demand we are going to do about it. I say, in the shell and shrapnel and in the white guns shall our answer will be couched. You cannot escape us. True that you have read history. It's true that labor has from the beginning of history had been in the dirt, and it is equally so long as you and those that you have power, labor shall be with you. I agree with all that you have. Bhagat Singh said, you can draft by tomorrow morning, and I'll make some changes if required and I'll pass it. Asaf Ali went that evening very happily. Sardar Kishan Singh, Bhagat Singh's father, was also very happy. Rajguru and Sukhdev's family was also very happy. Next morning, Asaf Ali returns and he has drafted a letter of commutation and he shows it to Bhagat Singh, and Bhagat Singh says, so Bhagat Singh says, okay, you get a draft by tomorrow morning and I'll make some changes if required and I'll pass it. So Asaf Ali went that evening very happily. Sardar Kishan Singh, Bhagat Singh's father, was also very happy. Rajguru and Sukhdev's family was also very happy. Next morning, Asaf Ali returns and he has drafted a letter of commutation and he shows it to Bhagat Singh, and Bhagat Singh says, the work is done. We have already sent the petition. But you didn't consult. Bhagat Singh said, no, it was consulted between the three of us, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and we had already sent the letter. This was the letter. So neither begins nor it will end with our lives. It is any consequential events existing environment. Our humble sacrifices will be a link in the chain that has very accurately been vivified by unparalleled sacrifice of Mr. Das, Jatin Das, and most tragic but noblest sacrifice of Comrade Bhagwati Charan, the glorious death of our dear warrior Chandrashekhar Azad. As to the question of our fates, please allow us to say that when you have decided to put us to death, you will certainly do it. You have got the power in your hands, and the power is the greatest justification in the world. See how the language of Iron Heel is creeping in. We know that the maxim might is right serves as your guiding motto. The whole of our trial is just a proof of that. We wanted to point out that according to the verdict of your court, we had waged war and were therefore war prisoners, and we claim to be treated as such. That is, we claim to be shot dead instead of hanged. It rests with you to prove that you really meant what your court has said. We request and hope you will be very kindly order the military department's detachment to perform our executions. Yours, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev. This is how the mercy petition should be. This is commutation. And this is nothing else to say after reading this. So, let's move to the another part. It's an interesting story of Ghadar Watch. We, as an when we read about Indian independence story, we read about the history of Congress as a single one starting in 1885 from Dadabhai Naoroji till it got independence by Jawaharlal Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi and others. But when we study the history of armed revolution, we study in pockets. We study 1857, we study tribal uprisings, then we study Bengalis, Anushilan and Yugantan, then we study Ghadar, then we study HRA, then HSRA, then Master Soviet Sen, then Subhash Chandra Bose. We study in pockets, but in reality, all these armed revolutions were connected very organically, and it needs to be studied. The need of hour is to be studied in continuation. I will provide you a single link which will provide the continuation. Mr. Raj Bihari Bose, the mastermind behind the Ghadar revolution. Okay, he was exiled after Ghadar revolution and he had to live in Japan till his death. Later, he organized the Indian National Army and handed it over to Subhash Chandra Bose. My dear friend Pasu Noa has written a book on Raj Bihari Bose. It's a very wonderful book. All of you should read. So Raj Bihari in 1914, before the Ghadar revolution was planned, what a watch, that watch. And he called that watch as Ghadar watch. And he said the bad time of Britishers has begun and this watch is proof of it. When Ghadar failed, due to treachery, many reasons, he handed over that watch to Sachindranath Sanyal. Sachindranath Sanyal was very young. He was also involved in Anushilan Samiti and also involved in Ghadar. He took that watch before Raj Bihari Bose Babu was exiled from India. See how this battle passes on. Sachindranath Sanyal laid down for a while in early 20s, he started Hindustan Republican Association. He formed a first revolutionary organization called HRA, and Chandrashekhar Azad, Ram Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, all these people were in HRA. All of them were disciples of Satyendra Nath. When HRA committed Kapuri train robbery, all of you must have been aware of it. HRA failed, Ram Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan were hanged. Satyendra Nath was supposed to be in prison, he was on the run. In 1923 or 24, he meets Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh's revolutionary career hasn't even started yet. Okay? And this man sees something in this young person, in Bhagat Singh, and he hands over the brother watch to Bhagat Singh. See how the baton passes. When HRA is finished, Bhagat Singh rises up and Bhagat Singh creates a new party from scratch with the help of Pandit Chandrashekhar Azad, calls it HSRA, Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. And this object was kind of mystery in the comrades. The distant comrades, which were not part of it, used to discuss, really Bhagat Singh had the watch of Rajguru, and it really had been. When on 8th April 1929, when Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt was going to throw a bomb in Central Assembly, before going to the Central Assembly, he took out his watch and handed over his watch to Jatin. Jatin was his friend, and says, now the revolution, the time piece of revolution stands with you. He also chose, which was very brand new, he had purchased to escape from, you must in the movie, he had British officer for Lahore, that he had purchased brand new shoes. While he was going to Delhi Central Assembly, he gave those shoes to Sukhdev and said, Britishers are not going to use that shoes to anyone, they are going to waste, so it's better than, and keep watch as a legacy of Indian Revolution. So these two are still kept in museum and are on. So rather than the formative years, I would like to discuss politically effect of this life. So as when we say a young man, this chapter justifying that I have to say. In pop culture showed that when Bhagat Singh was around Lahore, Miawali Central Jail, he saw how worse treatment of the revolution. Rats are running, is very bad, and the Indian prisoners are treated like animals. And then he decided to start an hunger strike. But it's the presumption is wrong. It's very interesting to note. When he was arrested in Delhi, he was kept with European prisoners. Okay, he was provided best quality of food, best quality clothes, newspapers, books, diaries, and everything as far as he was kept in Delhi. Now he was boarded in the train on 15th June 1929, and he was taken to Lahore from Delhi to Lahore. On 15th June, when he and Batukeshwar Dutt was on the train, he started his hunger strike before even reaching Lahore. Why? That is very interesting question. He hadn't even seen what kind of food is being served in Lahore. And this man forms a letter, and he knows that Batukeshwar Dutt and he are going to be kept separately in Lahore. So there will be no communication between them. And he writes a letter to Inspector General Jails of Miawali saying that I am starting a hunger strike. He notes down the reasons that we demand to be treated as political prisoners, we demand to be supplied as proper food as European prisoners, toiletries, newspapers, and the books that we want to read. He says he does this deliberately to highlight the fact that for the past 100 years, I am talking about the 100 years before 1923, how the British government had treated the revolutionists. He was doing a practical protest against the British system to to force them to treat revolutionaries as political prisoners. And this was an outstanding move. It has never happened in the world history again or before. So he writes the letter, he starts the hunger strike. And from 15 June he starts the hunger strike. On 10th July, the first hearing was in Lahore Central Jail, Special Magistrate Sri Kishan's magisterial trial. Okay. So he had to literally brought on stretchers Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt. And on the outside of that court of Sri Rai Kishan, they both met each other 10th July. And you know what? Batukeshwar Dutt had recorded it later because Batukeshwar Dutt survived. He was awarded life in prison. So Bhagat Singh comes on a stretcher. Batukeshwar Dutt is taken on another. They both are kept on side by side in out of the court. Bhagat Singh asked Batukeshwar Dutt, "How are you?" And you know what Dutt replies? Dutt used Batukeshwar Dutt, Bhagat Singh, Sardar. Sardar, he says, "Sardar, I am still not." This was the reply of Batukeshwar Dutt. See, from the 15th of June to 10th of the July, it's almost or same. And his other comrades are arrested. They are inside the court. They saw the Pandit recorded that day what we saw of Bhagat Singh was merely his pale shadow. He was not in his formerly glory, and everyone was saddened. And all his 16 comrades decided to go on hunger strike, seeing his condition, and to support him in his struggle. On 13 July, all of the revolutionaries started hunger strike. This ran for 112 days. Okay, and we will get into more stories. This man is Baba Sohan Singh Bhakna. You must never have heard about him. He was a Gadar legend. He was imprisoned in the first Lahore conspiracy case, 1914. He was sent to Andaman Port Blair jail. After serving 14 years, he was brought back to Lahore for his release. Okay, so his body is literally destroyed by the hard labours in Andaman. And this man sees what Bhagat Singh is doing and asks that I will join your hunger strike in support of Bhagat Singh. Now the jailer comes to him and says that if you join the madness of these young people, your release will be stopped. You will be kept in prison for 2 more years. Now Bhagat Singh came to know about this. Bhagat Singh goes to Baba Sohan Singh Bhakna that you are a veteran, you are a father figure to all the Indian revolutionaries. We request you not to participate in our struggle. You have done enough. Please go out of the jail and support our activities from outside. You have done your due. And he says, if you young people can do this, how can I go outside and eat the road? He participated in the hunger strike and ultimately the government cancelled his release and he was kept in jail for 2 more years. A couple of lines come to my mind when we see his character. He says, आज ये दीवार पर्दों की तरह हिलने लगी, शर्त थी लेकिन ये बुनियाद हिलनी चाहिए, हाथ लहराते हुए हर गली में, हर शहर में हर लाश चलनी चाहिए, सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, सारी कोशिश नजर बदलनी चाहिए. So this is Baba Sohan Singh Bhakna for you. Next, this man is called Bhavir Singh. He was a wrestler when he joined the activities of Hindustan Socialist Republican Army, a friend of Bhagat Singh. See, now the question, logical question comes to mind and should come to mind. When hunger strike is started, how can these people survive for 112 days? Anyone can survive on hunger, let's say 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, not more than a month, even if it kept on IV. Then how did these people survive for 112 days? So the answer was force feeding. What the Britishers used to do, they used to take the Pathan constables, they used to grab the prisoners and liquid diet was forced into their stomach using rubber pipes. So rubber pipes were either inserted through their nose or their mouth forcibly. This man was a wrestler, and the warden in his statement says, in the record says, that as long as he was there, it took never less than 30 minutes of restraining. He used to fight for more than 30 minutes before giving up for forceful feeding. See his conviction. And later, he was also awarded life imprisonment. He was sent to cellular jail. He also went on hunger strike there, and he died due to the mishap in forcible feeding in 1933 in cellular jail. The sad thing is, not even 1% of our country knows his name. Next, you all should know him, Jatin Das. So, Bhagat Singh gets him in Calcutta. This man's history is very interesting. He was right hand of Satyendranath Sanyal. Okay. His old name was Robin. He was into the prison before, during the times of HRA, and he was on hunger strike earlier. Among all the comrades and friends of Bhagat Singh, this man only had experience of hunger strike, nobody else had. So when on 10th July, when everybody else saw that Bhagat Singh and Dutt is on hunger strike, so Sukhdev and Rajguru and others said, let us go on hunger strike. Not Rajguru came in September 29. Okay. So we will also go on hunger strike. So this man cautioned everyone against it. He says, dying with bullet and bomb is very easy. Dying in hunger not easy. If you want to go ahead with hunger strike, you will have to die every day, every single hour, every minute. So he was senior to everyone. So he asked everyone to keep an hunger strike for 24 hours. See if you can bear it, and then only give an official declaration. Otherwise, the name of party will win. So everybody followed him, and that said, you don't need to join in our adventure. And it is enough. You will struggle in poor. But he said no. If you are, I am also doing. So, and surprisingly, Bhagat Singh and Dutt learned the bomb making from this Jatindranath. To see how the continuation worked. Raj Bihari Bose taught bomb making to Satyendranath Sanyal. Satyendranath Sanyal taught bomb making to Jatindranath Das. Jatindranath Das taught bomb making to Bhagat Singh. Our revolution continues through these links. So Bhagat Singh contacted him in Calcutta when after he shot Saunders and went to Calcutta. He used to oppose force feeding. So we all know and we all have seen in movie that he died on 63rd day. But why Bhagat Singh and Dutt survived for 112 days, and why did this man died on 63rd day? The question should come, right? The answer is, he used to resist force feeding like everybody else. They used to eat, what do we say, red chilies and anything that could clog their throats so as to force the pipe from entering their abdomen. So one day, when the Pathan constables were force feeding him, the pipe of force, the rubber pipe, goes into his lungs, and more than 2 liters of milk is poured into his lungs. He went unconscious, and obviously the police didn't heed. But later the comrades said, and he was taken to hospital. That thing, the 2-liter milk in his lung, it developed acute pneumonia and other major complications. Despite getting this complication, this man refused to take any medicine. He didn't take any medicine for it. When he was dying of this complication, the British and the police and doctors were forcing him to take medicine, and he was refusing when there was not 1% of life was left in him. And then this British police comes to Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh was kept in other jail. Bhagat Singh and Dutt was kept in central jail, and all these other peoples were kept in Borstal jail. They came to Bhagat Singh and said that your friend is dying and he is refusing to take the procedure of enema and the other medicine. Bhagat Singh comes, he is taken to Jatin Das, and they say, Bhagat Singh, please you ask him. Bhagat Singh asks Jatin Dada, please let them do the procedure. And he nods. the doctor, the main warden asked, why did you refuse us when we were requesting you all this time? You are dying, and this Bhagat Singh guy comes and he just asks you politely and you agree. So Jatin, did you know what he said? He says, you cannot say no to Bhagat Singh. That was his nature. Even then, British government was ready to release him. Barely an inch of life, and once came to pick him up on the stretcher, and with all the life that was left in him, he shouted, no, if I am going to die, I will die in the prison, and let my death be the last coffin in the British Raj. The same sentence used by Lala Sukhdev. He died in the prison, and his cremation journey was organized by Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose booked a bogie of train. Imagine the distance from Lahore. His corpse was taken to Calcutta. The bogie was covered in black cloth. It is said that there was no portion of any town where the train stopped where the flock of people didn't come to pay respects to Jatin. Before the death of Mahatma Gandhi, you show you the slide. See, 5 lakh people gathered in Calcutta for his cremation. On every house, on every window and door, it was written, "Let my son be Jatin." This was the inspiration, and I will tell you the connection of Bhagat Singh's diary to this film. When Jatin Das died, on page number 29, Bhagat Singh writes this poem, "The noblest have fallen. They have buried obscurely in a deserted place. No tears fell over them. Strange hands carried them to the grave. No cross, no enclosure, and no tombstone tell their glorious names. Grass grows over them, a feeble blade bending low keeps the secret. The sole witness were the surging waves which furiously beat against the shore, but even they, the mighty waves, could not carry farewell greetings to the distant." When I got the actual handwritten original copy of this jail notebook, and in other references, in the records of Asaf Ali says that when I went in to meet Bhagat Singh, when Jatin Das died, he had written this poem by Veeron. When Yadvindra Singh Sandhu came to Mumbai and showed me the actual copy of diary, the original one diary. On this page, I saw a water drop, a mark in the ink where this poem is written. I think and I believe it's a teardrop of Bhagat Singh for Jatin Das. From the smile this man has when he rises on the gallows, and to the teardrop when he fought this friend, is the journey. This is the Bhagat Singh. Singh is not just Bhagat Singh, is also flower. These are the two sides of the same man. Now we should discuss Commander-in-Chief Chandrashekhar Azad, most neglected revolutionary, most neglected person in Indian history. This man is literally stuff of list. You will find so many fascinating stories. Can any one of you tell me what was the age of Pandit Chandrashekhar Azad when he died? Anyone know? Can you make a guess?
26.
He was 24 years old. 1 year elder to Bhagat Singh. His code name was Quicksilver. He was trained under Ram Prasad Bismil and Sachindranath Sanyal. His journey to revolutionary came from Mumbai, Kashi and all that. See, Bhagat Singh was from very affluent family. Bhagat Singh was very from well-off family. But this man, Azad too, had seen actual poverty. There was nothing to eat also. And so they could directly, Bhagat Singh could relate the downtrodden from his learning through the books. But Azad, Rajguru had an experience of poverty. His great parallel with Jatin. This is not highlighted in the books or in pop culture. His idol, see how this functions. Jatin was Bengali revolutionary. His guru was Swami Vivekananda. He used to wrestle with Swami. So he took his teaching from Swami, raised an rebellion against British Raj, killed a tiger, and that's why he got the name of Jatin. And he was encountered by British. He raised the party from scratch. He was a muscle commander-in-chief and he also died in combat. Similarly, see with Bhagat Singh. Bhagat was Kartar Singh Sarabha. Singh Sarabha died when he was 19 and in Gadar. Bhagat was Kartar Singh Sarabha and Bhagat Singh died in the same way. So, see how these people were right in the footsteps of their idols. HSRA from scratch. Let us discuss the single major achievement of Bhagat Singh, mostly I don't know what, even are ignored or not discussed. The achievement of Pune, and we will see how this is very relevant and very revolutionary. From Dadabhai Nauroji to Mahatma Gandhi, Indian National Congress was asking for dominion status. Okay, what is dominion? Can anyone please tell me in short if anyone knows? Yes, please.
It's like what Australia, the status that Canada and Australia have right now. They have a degree of autonomy, but it's still ruled by British.
Yes, nominally now, but still British power. So from Nauroji to Gandhi, it was asked dominion status. In 1928's Nehru report, in Simon Commission, the issue was discussed of dominion. This man and Bhagat Singh was asking for complete, nothing less than complete independence, and they have been during the course of their trial. The popular got the side, and Mahatma Gandhi used to clearly say that mob is not ready for complete independence. We can the dominion status and we will take the freedom gradually from the British. But Bhagat Singh and Azad used to say that this is hypocrite. Dominion status is another form of slavery. We want nothing but complete independence. And during his speeches and everything else, this thing so popular that in 1999, when the Lahore session of Congress was held, Congress leaders Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi was to pass the resolution of Purna Swaraj 29. The complete credit goes to Chandrashekhar Azad. If people hadn't been there, the demand for independence may have been delayed for 20 years. I don't know where the history would have gone there. There is also a little connection of Purna Swaraj and an adventure. When Azad was rescued Bhagat Singh many times, okay, jail and I will discuss it later. So when everything failed, he decided to blow Viceroy. Very move that is. Viceroy was like India and a British crown. He decides to directly blow the train of Viceroy. He hatches the plan. The plan was supposed to go on the floor in October, but the plan was delayed deliberately. Also, I would like to tell you, the plan was known to Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi, and Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi convinced Azad that Bhagat Singh is fighting from inside for Purna Swaraj. You also have laid your blood and sweat. Let us wait for the resolution. On 19th December 1929, the Purna Swaraj was passed. On 23rd December, 4th day later, the bomb was blown beneath the train of Viceroy. Surprisingly, he survived. The planning that went in the bombing of Viceroy is another, it's a very big issue. If we kept discussing, it will take too long. But this was the thing I would like to highlight. Another very interesting thing. We used to call this till last few years, and the government of India, the social Marxists condemned Azad and Bhagat Singh for individual heroism. Individual heroism doesn't come under purview of socialism and communism. Okay. What did they do? They put a bomb in Delhi Assembly, no one died. Who did they kill? Bhagat Singh killed Saunders. Pandit ji killed one constable Charan Singh after Saunders. And when Pandit ji was encountered in Allahabad, one or two policemen died. So, in effect, there was nothing. The amount of violence was nothing. What was their plan? When Bhagat Singh was, and he understood 7th October in 1929, when it was understood that he is not coming out, they are going to be executed, Pandit ji goes to Delhi and establishes a factory called Himalayan Toilets. And he, on premise of manufacturing soap, and he borrows, creates a facade of creating manufacturing soaps in Delhi. For some reasons, I cannot go into the details, the factory had to be abandoned, and one of the person, Kailashpati, was arrested, one of the comrades, and he turned approver. He took Britishers to that spot, CID. The CID called the weapon expert, called as Churchill. This man is very notorious, he was related to Winston Churchill also. And this Churchill man comes and examines the lot, what was going on there. And it is written, I will show you the proof. This is from the book Terrorism in India 1970 to 1936 from Intelligence Bureau Government of India. It says the explosives were moved to another house and were recovered by police in November 1930 when an expert Narayan Dharap was wife of Bhagwati Charan, and she was the crucial person who helped Bhagat Singh to rescue after Saunders' murder. She posed as his wife and helped him to rescue from Lahore to Calcutta. She also met Gandhiji for protesting Bhagat Singh's case, but it didn't work out. When Bhagwati, her husband, died, she went to Azad next day and asked Panditji to be given the position of his in the party. This is also something very interesting, as our title goes, for the love of Bhagat Singh. There are three parties who tried to save Bhagat Singh, who were not from HSRA, not from any revolutionary party. On 24th November 1929, two people, K.P. Bhattacharya and Pulis Bihari Roy, these two Bengalis comes to Lahore. They came with coconut bombs. Okay, they stayed in Dharamshala, and they went in to see the court of Bhagat Singh, Pandit Sri Rai Kishan. It was Sunday, and they decided that on Monday we will throw bombs in open court. In the night, in the kitchen of Dharamshala, these two boys were preparing coconut bombs, and suddenly, due to their untrained hands, the bomb explodes. People came to know about, CID arrested them, and when they were asked, why did you came, which organization did you belong, they said nothing. They were totally three parties, unrelated to anything, just came to rescue Bhagat Singh just out of love for the man. And the photos of Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt were found on them. This screenshot is from the National Archive of Punjab. It's a note written by CID of Punjab. Next, I have heard his name, he was Udham Singh of Bhagat Singh, in short. See, Panindranath Ghosh was the biggest traitor in HSRA. He was the member of Central Committee. He was representative of Bihar. He knew everything. See, the British didn't have any proof of Saunders' murder. They established the proof basis on some assumption and basis of witnesses. This man, Panindranath Ghosh, became government witnesses, and he became witnesses in 5 or 6 other cases also. In Motihari conspiracy case, Tirut conspiracy case, Bhusawal bomb case, and many other cases. He was given 50 acres of land in Bettiah at those times. He was given a gun license and a liquor license also in Meena Bazar of Bettiah. And he was titled as King's Witness. Okay. Okay, he was given title, unofficial title of King's Witness. So the case name was Sukhdev versus the King George. Okay, but the case of Lahore conspiracy case, and the main charge against Bhagat Singh and others was not just to kill Saunders, but to raise a conspiracy against the king, the war against the king, and that part of conspiracy, that conspiracy, nationwide conspiracy, was provided by Kanindranath Ghosh. The core committee member gave all the details of HSRA. Every minute thing says the formation of HSRA. He established that we were creating and waging and planning the war on King George. That's why the death sentence was awarded. That is a legal issue. This man was from Bihar, Vaikunth Shukla, and this was another revolutionary, Yogendra Shukla. Yogendra Shukla was senior and Vaikunth Shukla was junior. Vaikunth Shukla had never met Bhagat Singh in his life. Yet after the execution of Azad and Bhagat Singh, he decided, see what happened, after Bhagat Singh and Panditji died after March 1931, remaining revolutionaries of Lahore sent a note in newspaper to Bihar by saying, कि दाग को धोगे कि ढोगे. It was a blot on Bihar that a representative of Bihar, Narayan Dharap, became an approver and tarnished the image of the revolutionary of Bihar are going to do. Were they going to carry the blot or were they going to wash the blot? At that time, Yogendra Shukla was arrested. Vaikunth was free. Incidentally, see how the link goes. Kartar Singh Sarabha was idol of Bhagat Singh. He dreamt of dying like Kartar Singh Sarabha. Bhagat Singh got his wish. He died like Kartar Singh Sarabha. Pandit ji had dreamt of dying like Bhagat Jatin. He said, मुझे जिंदा कोई नहीं पकड़ सकता जब तक मेरे पास ये बमतुल बुखार है. He used to call his gun बमतुल बुखार. जब तक मेरे पास ये बमतुल बुखार है, the Mauser pistol, no one can catch me alive. And he died in encounter. Now this man, born in the same year of Bhagat Singh, 1907, considers Bhagat Singh as his idol, and he wishes to live and die like Bhagat Singh. When he didn't get to meet Bhagat Singh even once, and when we learned the treachery of Narayan Dharap, he decides and makes a plan to kill Narayan Dharap. Now the party convenes the HSRA of Bihar. The plan goes, how do we kill him? So he was given a 24/7 rifle having bodyguard for Narayan Dharap. Okay, because it was known that now or then the revolutionary will try to kill him. So how are we going to kill him? We will bomb his house, we will shoot him from distance, and there were many other things that they did. But Vaikunth, the Narayan Dharap, the traitor, the king's witness, had been crucial in killing Bhagat Singh in the daylight, in front of masses of India. So the justice needs to be done in front of masses only. So in front of public, in Betia Meena Bazaar, this man from Muzaffarpur, he goes on bicycle to Betia. It takes him 4 days, and he reaches Betia. He has the weapon of kukri, the kukri knife, you know. And in the evening, when Narayan Ghosh comes with his bodyguard to the market, just 4 days after Chhath Puja, the Meena Bazaar is the biggest market in Betia. It's a very old and very crowdy market, and he sits proudly in front of his shop. This man goes in front of him, says that I have brought you a message. Narayan Ghosh arrogantly asks, a message from whom? And he says, from Bhagat Singh. And he takes out his kukri and stabs the kukri right into the skull of Narayan Ghosh, killing him instantly. Not instantly, but he died later on because obviously the injury was mortal. Afterwards, obviously, in 6 months or so, Vaikunth Shukla was arrested and he was awarded death sentence. During the time when he was awarded death sentence and he got his hanging, his weight actually increased around 9 pounds because he was so happy to die like Bhagat Singh. See how the link goes. Bhagat Singh got his wish to die like Kartar, and Vaikunth got his wish to die like Bhagat Singh. And later on, Udham Singh also got to die like Bhagat Singh. So this is the man who avenged Bhagat Singh, and there are many more things. I have just told you the story in short. It will be coming more in my book. The relevance of Bhagat Singh and the last wish, and we will conclude this after this slide. Bhagat Singh says, what was his last wish? He narrated in his notebook. I also wish my friends to speak little. He didn't want to talk people about it, because idols are created when men are praised, and this is very bad for the future of human race. See how timeless this thought is. Because idols are created when men are praised, and this is very bad for the future of the human race. Acts alone, no matter by whom committed, ought to be studied, praised or blamed. Let them be praised in order that they may be intimated when they seem to contribute to the common weal. Let them be censured when they were regarded as injurious to the general well-being, so that they may not be repeated. I desire that on no occasion, whether near or remote, nor for any reason whatsoever, shall demonstration of political or religious characters be made before my image. See, even today, all the processions and ceremonies done on the Bhagat Singh's death anniversary are either political or religious, except where we are sitting in. This is not political or religious. We are analyzing his history. As I consider the time devoted to the dead would be better employed in improving the condition of living, most of whom stand in great need of us. This was the last dying wish of the man that he had recorded in his note. I would like to finish my session. There are many things left, but the time is up, I guess. I would like to finish this by reading a poem which is tribute to Bhagat Singh and his comrades' legacy. It goes like this. सर जलाएंगे रोशनी होगी, सर जलाएंगे रोशनी होगी, उस उजाले में फैसले होंगे, वो रोशनाई भी खून की होगी, और वो फकाकाश कलम जिसमें जितनी चीखों की दास्तानें हैं उन्हें लिखने की आरज़ू भी होगी। ना ये लम्हा करार का होगा, ना वो दामन फरार का होगा, वो अदालत गरीब की होगी, जान अटकी यजीद की होगी, और फिर कोई फकीर का बच्चा मसनदों पर बिठाया जाएगा। मसनद मीन्स सिंहासन। और फिर कोई फकीर का बच्चा मसनदों पर बिठाया जाएगा, और तराजू के दोनों पलड़ों में सुर्ख लम्हों को तोला जाएगा। जो यतीमों की तरफ उठे थे ऐसे हाथों को तोड़ डालेंगे, और जिसने रौंदी गरीब की असमत उनकी गर्दन मरोड़ डालेंगे। जिसने बेची है कलम की ताकत, वेरी रिलीवेंट, जिसने बेची है कलम की ताकत, जिसने अपना जमीर बेचा है, कुछ ने तो रोटी का ख्वाब बेचा है। अब किस तरह कहे हम कि लोगों ने खुद को किस तरह बार बार बेचा है। फैज़ और इकबाल का पड़ोसी हूँ, एक तड़प मेरे खून में भी है। झोपड़ी के नसीब बदलेंगे फिर कहीं इनकलाब आएगा। झोपड़ी के नसीब बदलेंगे फिर कहीं इनकलाब आएगा। बैठे रहने से कुछ नहीं होगा, फिर कहीं इनकलाब आएगा। थैंक यू।
Before going into the question answer session, I would like to request everyone to play a 1 minute silence for the Bhagat Singh.
Good evening, sir. I have a question. It may sound some arrogant. These leaders have done great for us, and why? I have a simple question: why Bhagat Singh has decided, he was knowing he was going to die, and he then after that went on the hunger strike. What was the actual reason? How it was impacting the general mass, or there was a solid reason behind it?
See, when he was arrested, the popular perception, the Congress party and his opposition portrayed a popular perception that these are hot-headed young men, misguided souls. It is very easy to kill someone. They had killed Saunders and they had put a bomb in assembly. So both this violent act were criticized. For going on hunger strike, it was a two-pronged strategy. Hunger strike was the main weapon of Mahatma Gandhi. And it is said, or it is generally known, that man who goes on hunger strike has a soul, has a, what can we say, a soul power, a conviction, some sort of rationality to him. So when Bhagat Singh started hunger strike, it was to highlight that the revolutionaries can also do the sufferings, can also undergo the sufferings of hunger strike, as the Gandhi says, and also that we are not violent people, and also to highlight the nature of political prisoners, how the political prisoners of the revolutionists are treated for the last 100 years. So this two-pronged strategy had achieved. For going on 112 days, he broke the myth that revolutionaries are violent people. Okay. By the sacrifice of Jatin, it was clearly established. No Congress leader perished in hunger strike. Okay, that is history. Except the Jatin that provided this, and he also achieved the political prisoner status. Even today, the Punjab committee, when was formed by the demands of Bhagat Singh, and the prison reforms that were suggested by that Punjab committee in 1930, that prison reforms run to this day in independent India. So the prisoners that are given human treatment in India, that the credit goes to Bhagat Singh's hunger strike also.
Thank you.
Sir, please clarify whether Bhagat Singh was atheist or atheist, because he wrote the essay why I am an atheist. So please clarify about it.
Bhagat Singh was atheist. 100% without any doubt, without anything else, he was complete atheist. I will tell you why. And why his sacrifice is more important, because he was an atheist. Bhagat Singh writes that all the martyrs that died before him claimed that, see, when you do something, when you lose your life, when you go to gallows, the Hindu way of life says, I will die for this and I will go to Swarg. Okay, and the Islam line of says that I will qurban myself and I will go to Jannah. But Bhagat Singh clearly writes in Why I Am an Atheist that I know when the gallows, the rope is in my neck, I cease to exist, and yet I choose death. That's why his sacrifice is so much great. And because see, anyone who dies goes as a martyr on gallows in expectation of some afterlife return, the atheist angle is too great. And there was a warden, there was a worker in Lahore Central Jail, a Sikh. He used to pester Bhagat Singh repeatedly कि अब तो रब नू याद कर ले, तू फांसी पे जा रहा है, अब तो रब नू याद कर ले. And Bhagat Singh clearly said him, ना ही मैनू रब दा यकीन, ना ही मैनू मौत दा खौफ है, ना ही मैनू रब दा यकीन. And for that he wrote that essay Why I Am an Atheist, and it's clearly a masterpiece, way ahead of time. Even today it's so difficult to digest for common masses, and I urge it should be included in syllabus, for not for becoming an atheist, for at least critical and rational thinking.
One of the biggest themes of Bhagat Singh's infiltrate in India was that reducing the gap between the rich and poor and safety for women. So, but even after so many years of independence, the Britishers have gone, the power has been vested by to our people. But still, these problems, still today we see the problems of the labor class where people, the wealth is concentrated only on the few hands and they are doing injustice to people who are from the little financial background. So, sir, how far are we from achieving Bhagat Singh's idea of the independent? Because even though Britishers have gone, but the problem still remains whether when it was during the Britishers' time. And still we are fighting over those divide and rule policy indirectly through which the Britishers came. So are we actually heading towards Bhagat Singh's dream of independent India?
We are very far away from this dream. First. Second, Bhagat Singh himself said, if we go on like this, I mean the way the Congress was fighting for freedom, the Gora Sahibs and the remain the same itself, and it has proven true, 100% true. His vision was international. See, this is unfortunate on our side. We see Che Guevara as an international icon, and we see Bhagat Singh as national icon, whereas Bhagat Singh talks everything which relates to internationalism. He talks about labor, he talks about condition of human, he talks about the boundaries between nations as a hypocrisy. Okay, so he talks, see, every party and every school of thought tries to contain him in their own. Communist people say Bhagat Singh was communist, whereas when he died, Communist Party clearly dissociated with him. He is saying that we do not associate with individual liberation. Many parties are trying to, many school of thoughts are trying to associate with him, socialist, Marxist and anyone. Bipin Chandra was a great historian, was studying Bhagat Singh before he passed away, and he said Bhagat Singh didn't belong to any camp. If he would have survived, it was very much possible that he would have created his own school of thought. And it was very close to socialist democracy, which ultimately we acquired. In Nehru's time, we went on to socialist democracy, but the implementation thing went wrong, or let's say didn't went along with the ideas of Bhagat Singh. There are two ways to implement anything. One is gradual approach, which Congress approach is called struggle through struggle. You fight for something, you get something, remain quiet, then fight something. While as Bhagat Singh as a revolutionary stand for complete destruction of a system which is unjust and creating a new system from scratch that believes that exploitation of man from man must become impossible. So we are very much far away from this idea of independent India and independent world.
So as you said, like he smiled when he was at the gallows, and you have like widely read him. So I would like to ask, like, what do you interpret of his smile?
Yeah, see, who was present, I don't recall his name. He told the warden, he said, आप खुशनसीब हो, आप भारत के सपूतों को हंसी खुशी फांसी पे चढ़ते हुए देखने का आपको नसीब मिल रहा है. So he writes just 10 or 12 days before his death. He says last, you should read it. He says, I could have achieved anything if I have survived. I do not say, not have wished to live. I don't want to die, but I cannot be greater. My name, my idol, the idea that I stand for cannot be greater and bold unless I go to the gallows. If I go to the gallows, every mother in India will say, let my son be Bhagat Singh. And his life was an achievement. His smile, there was an enigma. That smile represents his success. But success not in conventional sense. Success in his own sense. So that is the enigmatic personality. That is the core of Bhagat Singh.
One more question.
is the composer of the last poem? Is it you?
No. It's from Abrar Ulhaq, a Pakistani poet.
Thank you.
I take the last question.
When you say that Bhagat Singh wanted Indians to be like, do you mean that he wanted the Indians to die for the country? Like people had idealized him as they wanted to die for the country. Usually what it appears is that they wanted to die like their ideal, and many of them have remained alone to us. Perhaps they would have achieved much more had they not like. They were perhaps too obsessed by getting the movie of death like Bhagat Singh.
No, it was not like that. Getting into the footsteps of your idol in another thing, they could have achieved 1,000 times than they could do. But the circumstances are that, in the letter that I just mentioned, Bhagat Singh tried, I do not say that I don't have wish to live, but under any circumstances, I refuse to live under slavery. That's why I choose to go to the gallows. So, see, you can achieve something by being alive. The reports from intelligence bureau says in 1931 the popularity of Bhagat Singh was more than Mahatma Gandhi. C. Rajgopalachari had written the same. So the point is creating the impact on masses. Okay, that is the single point of any revolutionary or political people. So by becoming a martyr, he could achieve so much, and there was also no other option. The Britishers were not going to leave him alive. As the case of Baikun Shukla, his action was reactionary. He was going to cleanse the name of Bihar, what Phanindra Ghosh has done, and Phanindra Ghosh had to die. What other revolutionary failed was to kill Veerbhadra Tiwari. Have you heard about Veerbhadra Tiwari? Veerbhadra Tiwari was traitor because of whom Chandrashekhar Azad was encountered in Alfred Park of Allahabad. So revolutionary tried 2 times to attack him, but due to the bodyguard and the presence of CID, he survived. So the point is not to die. The point is to create a legacy, to create an impression of masses that for the freedom of country, you should be ready to die, and creating an example. That was the point of becoming a martyr.
So I think we should conclude. Let's give a round of applause. Now we conclude with a poem written by Major Lalit Kumar.
Thank you. Jai Hind to everyone. I'm Major Lalit Kumar. I study in IIT during my study leave in transportation department. So it's actually it was a very informative session for me as well. Today morning when I woke up for my morning routine at 5 o'clock, I had a very intriguing question in my mind: that what is the relevance of Bhagat Singh in today's world? So I write occasionally. So I wrote few lines. I hope you all can connect to that. When Bhagat Singh was hanged, and so what may be going through his mind and what may not be going through his mind. It's a poem written in Hindi. तुम कैसे झूले फंदे पर एक बार तो ये बतलाना था, क्या सोचा था तुमने, क्या सोचा था तुमने और क्या था भूला, क्या सोचा था तुमने और क्या था भूला, एक कागज पर लिखकर जाना था। हसरत अंतिम इच्छा, हसरत आजादी की थी तुम्हारी ये तुमने बतलाया था, हसरत आजादी की थी तुम्हारी ये तुमने बतलाया था, लेकिन कुर्बान उस जवानी का, लेकिन कुर्बान उस जवानी का पन्ना ना कोई पाया था। तुम कैसे रहे इंकलाब की मदहोशी में, तुम कैसे रहे इंकलाब की मदहोशी में, एक बार तो ये बतलाना था, दर्द के मंजर को हम सफर बनाया था कैसे, दर्द के मंजर को हम सफर बनाया था कैसे, कागज पर लिखकर जाना था। तुम कैसे भूले बैसाखी की उस बसंत, तुम कैसे भूले को शायद बदला जाते, कैसे मनाई थी वो दिवाली तुमने अंधेरी कोठरी में, कैसे मनाई थी वो दिवाली तुमने अंधेरी कोठरी में, इस पर भी दो लफ्ज कह जाते। तुम कैसे पत्थर थे बने, तुम कैसे पत्थर थे बने, भूल अपने रिश्ते नातों को, एक बार तो ये बतलाना था। बचपन की लोरियों की थपथपाहट थी कैसे, एक कागज पर लिखकर जाना था। इंकलाब की उस जुनूनियत में तुम घर बार सब भूल गए, इंकलाब की उस जुनूनियत में घर बार सब तुम भूल गए। अंधेरी कोठरी के उस सूनेपन में, अंधेरी कोठरी के उस सूनेपन में थे रोशनी से तुम दूर गए। तुम चले गए बेअदबी से, तुम चले गए बेअदबी से, कुछ तो कहकर जाना था। 23 साल की उम्र ही तो थी, देखने को बड़ा सारा जमाना था। जय हिंद।
So I request Professor Bhagat sir and also to come and have a group photo with us. So that will conclude. Thank you for your time.